Okay, we're going to go live in just a moment here. Just getting these articles ready. I want to talk about. A little bit of an impromptu stream, last minute notification. We'll see what happens. All right, welcome back to WMMA Now with your host, Nick Stevenson. And this is a little bit of an impromptu stream. I just want to talk about a couple subjects that are hot in the MMA news world the last few days. It is currently Wednesday, June 15th. So UFC 275 was this past Saturday. Interesting conversation topics going on this week right now. But so I wanted to take a few moments to talk about those. All right, before I get into this, please like the stream, help get the algorithm going. If you haven't yet, feel free to subscribe to the channel, WMMA Now, the best, most complete women's mixed martial arts dedicated platform on YouTube. And if you haven't subscribed yet, then I hope today is that day that I earn that subscription. So this is going to be like a weird stream in that, excuse me, I have like two main topics I want to talk about. And I'm going to try to break them down in individual videos later on. So the chat is open, so feel free to say something in the chat at any time. But I'm only going to address the chat in between the topics. So tonight I want to talk about why everybody in the MMA media world is trying to talk about Ronda Rousey versus Gina Carano in 2022 because of like, excuse me, one little thing she said out of an entire interview, because that's what the media does nowadays. They take one quote out of an entire interview segment and somehow manage to write articles about it, turn that into whole articles. And then I want to talk about the now infamous New York Post article talking about Carla Esparza and, responding to Weili Zhang's call out for Abu Dhabi in, I think, September, and how people have reacted to that. And I'm going to give my reaction to it as well. No Filter MMA in the chat. Welcome, buddy. Go check out No Filter MMA on YouTube. He's a good channel, good guy, BJ, and earn the name No Filter. Like there's no filter when he's on. So go check him out. Like one of the few channels I will actually recommend to you guys. All right, first topic is, for some reason, everybody in the MMA media is talking about Ronda Rousey versus Gina Carano. So I have an article here. It's from the New York Post. It's titled, Ronda Rousey would only end MMA retirement for Gina Carano fight. It says, Ronda Rousey left the UFC 6 years ago, but revealed there's one headline fight that could reel her back into the octagon. Rousey, the first female inductee into the UFC Hall of Fame, expressed on a recent episode of The Kurt Angle Show that a face-off against Gina Carano would be worth putting on the gloves one more time. I mean, I've said it a million times, Rousey said. It's not like it's something new, but for Gina, man, Gina Carano, she's the reason why I got into fighting. She's the reason why I knew it was a possibility. I will always be forever grateful. And if she ever was like, Ronda, I want to fight you tomorrow at 205 pounds, like whatever the hell she'd want. There's a little bit of blah, blah, blah about her WWE stints. It says, as for her proposed opponent, Carano hung up her gloves in 2009 after suffering a disheartening loss to Chris Cyborg. Carano, once considered the face of women's MMA, primarily fought in Elite XC and Strikeforce at a time when UFC did not have women's matches. The 40-year-old has pursued an acting career in recent years, playing supporting roles in films such as Fast and Furious 6 and Deadpool. She later played Cara Dune in Disney Plus's hit series The Mandalorian, but was fired by Lucasfilm in 2021 after sharing a controversial post on Instagram. For now, the ball is in Carano's court. All she has to do is name a time and a place. Quote, if she wanted to come into my backyard and do the Rocky thing or, ding, ding, and we just do it in the backyard, I don't care, Rousey said. I will fight Gina wherever she wants. Okay, so why is the MMA media acting as if this is news? It's not. This is not news. And you can even tell it's news because there's a literal quote here from Ronda Rousey. It says, I've said it a million times. It's not like it's something new, but for Gina, man. So why does the MMA media take one single quote and manage to write full articles about this? I don't know. I just don't understand it. Like, I don't understand. I mean, I get it. It's clickbait. They need the ad revenue. Lord knows that sites like Bloody Elbow, MMA Fighting, MMA Mania, all the sites owned by SB Nation, which is owned by Vox Media, they need the ad revenue because Lord knows those websites do not make money. But it's like we just had a huge pay-per-view this past weekend. It is only Wednesday, so that's Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It's only been 4 freaking days. And they've already run out of stuff to talk about. Meanwhile, there are fights coming up this weekend that they could be talking about. But instead, they're busy worrying about something that's never going to happen. Everybody knows it's not going to happen. This is why I cannot stand the mainstream MMA media. And this is one of the reasons why I created this channel, was because I'm absolutely sick of BS clickbait articles like this. It's just, this isn't news. So why are they acting like this is somehow news? This has been talked about many times, and every time it comes up, which is like every other year, it seems like every other year, well, here comes MMA media. Well, we got to make this news. This is headline news. What's Ronda Rousey talk about Gina Carano? Click, 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 click. We need that article. Click, 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 click. It's just absolute trash. That's all this is. This is like nothing but trash that does nothing to help further the sport. This does nothing to help further the ladies' divisions at all. This does an absolute service to nobody except the overlords in the MMA media, because all they care about is clicks. Ronda Rousey is pushing, I think, 40. Gina Carano is pushing 40, and they haven't fought in years. Gina Carano has been out of the game for 13 freaking years. She lost once, quit, ran away to Hollywood. Don't blame her. She's made more money since then than she would have fighting. But she's never talked about coming back to fighting. Not realistically. And Ronda hasn't fought since what? The Nunes fight? And the only time she's talked about coming back to fighting was for Gina Carano, which she's talked about before. So why is it that every time she mentions this in an interview, the MMA media has to act like, well, this is new. This is brand new. This is headline news. This is headline worthy. We've got somebody write an article about this. It just drives me nuts. Like, I cannot stand this type of coverage from MMA media. And I've said this multiple times, but if MMA did not have trash media, it would have like no media. Because the amount of trash in MMA media far outweighs the actual good stuff that's going on in the MMA media. So this is just, I mean, really? Are we really still hung up on Ronda Rousey versus Gina Carano? I mean, like I said, Gina Carano hasn't fought since 2009, 13 years. Rousey hasn't fought since what, 2016, if that? Let me see. December of 2016. Oh, it was like 2 days before the new year. So yeah, these two are not coming back. They're not coming back. UFC don't think could afford to pay them enough money to come back. They're out of shape. They're certainly not in MMA fighting shape. So why do we continue to beat this dead horse? It just drives me nuts. Like, I cannot stand this type of crap being pushed day in and day out. I mean, and this is no disrespect to Ronda or Gina. Whatever your feelings may be about them, they were trailblazers for the women in this sport. That cannot be denied. Gina, to a much lesser extent than Ronda, in that Gina didn't really get as much done for the women as Ronda did, but they were trailblazers in a way. Like, Gina was the first female fighter to really bring attention to the women, and then Ronda was the one that basically convinced the UFC that, oh, you actually could make women's MMA a thing. Like, Gina wasn't able to do that in the UFC's eyes. Ronda was, and that's why they brought in women's MMA. But obviously, Gina had an influence on Ronda. So these two did blaze the trail in their own ways. But to still be hung up on them 6 years later for Ronda and 13 years later for Gina, the women's divisions have moved on, like far moved on from these two. And I think it's time that the media does as well. All right, let's go to the chat. No Filter says, I'm not mad at it. And channels like us suffer from the BS. Yeah, like we have to make up for, like channels like us, like small channels that want to discuss like the stuff that's really going on. We don't get nearly the attention because we're not talking about the BS. We're not doing the clickbait stuff. So yeah, the smaller, like the independent media, as it were, end up suffering because of that. Judy P in the chat says news equals revenue, and then trash equals revenue. That's the unfortunate part, is that the trash equals revenue. And then D Brown says Ronda Rousey, excuse me, let's fight Gina at 40 years of age. Ronda's an idiot. Gina, continue your business. Lamau. She's not really being serious. She was just talking about it in a podcast and said that that would be the one fight that would want to lure her back. But, I mean, Ronda's 35, so she's no spring chicken either as far as fighting goes. All right, let's move into the next topic. So, excuse me. All right, so the next topic I want to talk about is Esparza versus Zhang and when it should go down, when it goes down, where it goes down, and who gets to decide who, when, and where. And this was the source article on this is also the New York Post. And I thought it was a good article I don't recognize the name Scott Fantana who wrote it, but it's a pretty good one. It says, UFC champion Carla Esparza, Zhang Weili fight will happen on my timeline. It says, a championship victory, a new husband, and a lovely honeymoon. Safe to say the last month of Carla Esparza's life has been magical. That's a perfect way to describe it, the UFC strawweight champion told the Post over the phone Monday. And now, Esparza has the name of the woman she'll face in her upcoming title defense, Zhang Weili. The former champion from China decisively won a billed #1 contender bout Saturday in Singapore on the UFC 275 main card, knocking out Joanna Jędrzejczyk in the second round. Esparza saw the highlight reel KO, a spinning back fist that connected more with her forearm to Jędrzejczyk's jaw, forcing the ex-champ from Poland to faceplant. Esparza hasn't had the chance to watch the entire fight yet, though. Blame that on some relatable technical difficulties. I was on my way back from an event. It actually came on earlier than I expected. I didn't catch it, Esparza said. And then when we did get in, it was really hard trying to load the fight. We kept trying to buy it, and it wasn't working. I caught the highlight, and I definitely plan to watch it. Obviously, if I ended up fighting Weili, I can't not watch her most recent fight. The UFC, Esparza said, has reached out about scheduling her next fight, which she would prefer to take place near the end of 2022. She cites nagging injuries, nothing serious, as part of the reason for the delay, allowing time to heal up and be ready. One lesson from her first championship reign, which only lasted 3 months in the winter of 2015, was to not rush back into the cage too quickly. It's something she takes to heart now with her second title run. That was honestly a big regret of mine, letting the pressure push me into jumping back so quickly after having gone through so much fighting on The Ultimate Fighter, Esparza said. That was my 5th fight in 8 months. It's really draining. That was a big regret of mine, not letting myself recover a little bit and jumping straight back into it because feeling pressured and wanting to make the UFC happy. But in the end, if I'm losing my title, then what was it all worth anyway? It says this time, Esparza is taking a different approach to planning the Zhang bout. I definitely don't feel like I'm in a position where I should rush just because Weili wants a certain date, she said. I'm not trying to go on her timeline. I'm the champion, and I feel she needs to go on my timeline. Esparza had regained her belt on May 7th with a decision victory over Rose Namajunas more than 7 years after she lost it to Jacek in her first title defense. Blah, blah, blah. Let me see. And that's pretty much the end of this topic. So I've seen a lot of comments about this online on various social media. And one of the things that always gets me is like people always react to the headline without reading the actual article. Like people are already calling Carla Esparza a duck. And they're saying, oh, she's just trying to avoid Weili. And my first reaction was read the article. It literally says, what does it say? It says, the UFC, Esparza said, has reached out about scheduling her next fight, which she would prefer to take place near the end of 22. So it's not like she's trying to say, oh, I'm not trying to fight this year. She said, I want to fight before the end of the year. But all she said was, just because Zhang Weili prefers a certain date and location, I don't feel I should have to take that date and location. And here's the thing. Whatever your feelings about Zhang and whatever your feelings are about Carla, doesn't change the fact that Carla is right about this. Whatever your feelings about her and her being champion, she's not wrong. Challengers do not get to set parameters for title fights. Period. Challengers do not get to set the parameters, when, where, how, what have you, for title fights. That's just how it is. Champions do not have to take whatever the challenger wants. They do not have to give in to anything the challenger wants. Period. And I would say this, if it was Zhang was a champ and Esparza was a challenger and said, well, I want to fight on this date at this location, I'd say, well, you don't get to decide that. You're not the champ. So if the roles were reversed, I'd say the same thing. And I've already dealt with people on different forums going, well, what about Rose Namajunas last year? She tried to set the parameters. Check my history. I said the same thing last year dealing with Rose and Zhang then. I said, Rose is not the champion. She doesn't get to say when and where. She can ask for stuff all she wants, but the champion is under no obligation to do what the challenger wants. So it doesn't matter who's in this position. Challengers do not get to set the dates. They can say, well, I would like to fight here and here on this date at this location. That doesn't mean the challenger has to take that bait, especially when it is plainly obvious that the challenger is trying to work an advantage into this. So I looked this up. Abu Dhabi from China is a 4-hour time difference. That's barely any jet lag. Abu Dhabi from California, where Esparza lives and trains, 11-hour time difference. So why should the champion say, okay, I will give you exactly what you want and I will deal with the jet lag this time? Even though I'm the champ and I shouldn't have to, I'll give you exactly what you want. And I will go to the place that you like and give you the advantage as far as jet lag and everything. I will screw up my schedule to meet your demands, even though I'm the one with the belt. Again, if the roles were reversed, I would say challenger should do whatever the champ wants. And this has nothing to do with my like or dislike for either of the fighters. I like both of these fighters. I think I've been a Esparza fan for years now, and I love watching Zhang fight. Does she say some really weird, questionable things sometimes outside of the ring that makes me think maybe you're not that bright? Yeah, most fighters do. Guess what? It's MMA. People get punched in the head for a living. I don't expect these people to be geniuses. But I will watch Zhang fight all day, any day. So this has nothing to do with me liking or disliking one of the fighters. It doesn't. Because like I said, if the roles were reversed, I'd be saying the same thing. Whether you like Zhang and hate Carla, or like Carla or hate Carla and like Zhang, or vice versa, guess what? It doesn't change my feeling on this. Challengers don't get to set the parameters of title fights. And at the end of the day, it's not going to matter because the UFC is going to try to push for what they want anyway. So UFC might end up pushing for the Abu Dhabi date in, was it September? They might end up pushing for that anyway because they might want Zhang to have the advantage. What is that? UFC 281, October 22nd. So the UFC might push for that anyway. And that's on the UFC. But that doesn't mean that even then, Carla doesn't have to say yes, like that's the date. She could say, what about November, December? That would be better for me. She is the champion. I mean, the worst they'll do is they'll say, fine, and we'll just make an interim title. Well, no one cares about interim titles anyway. But I just find it funny that really what this comes down to is that Carla is not well liked and Zhang is. So people are willing to disregard reality and basically just act entirely on their feelings and say, well, Esparza should do what she wants. Should do what Zhang, whatever Zhang says. And nobody likes Carla anyway, so who cares what she has to say? Well, she's the one with the belt around her waist. At the end of the day, whether you like it or not, whether you agree with the decision in that fight or not, and a lot of people seem to not agree with that decision, guess what? She won the fight. She got the, excuse me, Esparza got the judge's decision over Namajunas, something that Weili failed to do twice. So at the end of the day, Esparza has the title. Zhang doesn't. And if Zhang had the title and Esparza didn't, I'd say, guess what? You got to do whatever Zhang says. Or you've at least got to try to meet her in the middle. Because Zhang would be the champ and Esparza would be the challenger. I just find it crazy that people are suddenly like, oh, Esparza should do what Zhang wants. And if she doesn't, she's ducking. She's ducking. She's ducking. She's ducking. This isn't about ducking. This is about saying, you're not the champ. I am. So I don't have to take the date that you want just because you want it. And if the roles were reversed, it would apply the same way. All right, let's go to the chats. Judy V says, at the end of the day, UFC decides. Other champs have gone more than a year without fighting. That is very true, too. I mean, and Esparza's not asking for like a long layoff. She said she'll fight before the end of the year. So that's 2 fights within a year. That is, guess what? That is par for the course for champions in the UFC. Purple Donatello says, bad matchup? Probably. We'll have to see. Judy V wants to know how so, which I would like to know too. We'll give him a minute. looks like he's going to take a minute. All right, so that's really all I had for today. This is a really short stream that I just wanted to do in order to break it down into 2 separate videos. To have for later. I'll probably end up editing those tomorrow. I'm just putting them out. So I just want to do this stream now, get it done. And Purple Dawn Teller says overall strength and length. Esparza's dealt with, stronger, longer fighters before, though. So yeah, I just wanted to keep this short. We'll do WMMA report tomorrow night, most likely. So we'll see you all back tomorrow night. So before I close out, if you haven't yet, please give the stream a like. That helps draw viewers to it in that YouTube algorithm. If you like the video and decide you want to see more of it, go ahead and subscribe to WMMA Scene Now, the best, most complete women's mixed martial arts dedicated platform on YouTube. Thank you to everyone for watching. Shout out to everyone in the chat, No Filter MMA, Judy V, D Brown, and Purple Donatello. All of you have a good night. Thank you all for watching, and come back for the WMMA report for the next episode. I'm going to be doing 2 weekends worth of results, so definitely stay tuned for that, and we'll find something else to talk about tomorrow night as well. We'll see you then, and everybody have a good night.